Visit Sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions. In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a stanchion base and pole. In this first chapter, we'll be creating a stanchion backing plate.
We're going to make a stanchion base so that we can make sure this is installed correctly. And what I ordered is a corrosion-resistant 3/16 stainless steel sheet that's 6 inches by 6 inches by 0.12 inch thick. I think that's about the right size for our application. So if I peel this protective cover off, I get my plate. And what we can actually get 3 of these out of this. It doesn't have to be exactly the same size as the stanchion base. I can be a little bit smaller, which is actually optimal for the position on the boat. And I'll just position it so that it's a little bit over the edge here. And I'm using a Scriball pencil available from Sailrite to mark the stainless steel. And there's my first one. And I've already done the general measurements. What I want to do is I want to mark it at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 2 and 5 16ths. And this width is 3 3/8 inch. I marked it there. And then I'm going to just strike lines with my clear acrylic ruler so I know exactly where to cut the plate to size. So straight down, and then this one will go over only to this line here. And that should provide plenty of reinforcement for my stanchion base. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. This will get us 2 up, and then I'll do 3 up, and I'll show you what it's like when we're done. So here it is. We've got 1, 2, and 3. And if you'd like, you can cut one out and use it as a template for the other 2, but we obviously don't have any room for a 4th. So a 6 by 6 gets you 3 back plates for this. Now it's time to cut and drill. So I have a vise here and a scrap piece of leather to keep from damaging the stainless steel. And I'm going to use a hacksaw because that's probably what most people have. We'll draw it back. So as you can see, this is going to be a very slow and tedious process. If you have a bandsaw with a blade for cutting metal, that'd be a better option. So even though this can be done with a hacksaw, we're going to go to the bandsaw because we have one. We remarked the holes because they wore away when we were cutting, and now I'm going to do a center punch so that I can drill accurately, hopefully. That looks good. Okay, we decided to round the corners. Probably a good idea. This is a big grinder. You don't need one this big. And we'll do that to all the corners. We're going to put some cutting oil on the bit. We have a 1/4 inch bit.
We used a 1/4 inch drill bit when we were drilling our holes, but we really should have used a 5/16 inch bit so we'd have more room to push the bolts through.
Alright, we got to do that to all 4, and we'll have her done.
In this next chapter, we'll be installing the stanchion base.
This is the surface that we filled with epoxy, and then we put our paint over the top of it, and it looks pretty good. These we aren't concerned about because this rectangular base lifeline stanchion will basically hide almost all of those holes. It wasn't a perfect size, that's why we wanted to paint it. So this is the location that we want it, right along this edge, which is where all the other ones are. And I'm going to mark where each one of these holes are with a grease pencil, or this is actually called a scriball pencil. So we're going to put circles and make sure that we look down each one of them to make sure they're centered, and they are. There we go. I like to use a countersink bit first and then drill, and to do this I wanted to take a look at the screw that we're going to be using. I don't know what size these are. I'll put it on the screen, I've forgotten, but you can see we have a lock nut with a nylon insert, so this will go on the underside. They're going to be through bolted. So here's the location of my first one, and we're going to do this so that the butyl tape will basically have a cavity to rest in, and this also helps to prevent spidering of the fiberglass. That looks pretty good right there. Let's clean up the surface. Well, let's not clean it up first before we drill the other ones, because otherwise I might move my marks off of here. So we're going to do the same thing to all these locations. Okay, so they're all, we have the countersink bit, and we did our job with that. Clean up the area a little bit, check to make sure that it fits like it's supposed to. Oh yeah, that looks perfect. Got everything exactly in line. So I put a 1/4 inch drill bit, and I'm going to put it in reverse first, and then I'm going to go forward, and this will remount that hole a little bit. So this is a 1/4 inch. That's probably the size I'll stick with. Let's test it. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So we're going to drill through each one of those with that size drill. Okay, I'm going to take a wad of butyl tape, excellent bedding compound. You can either wrap it around the bolt, or you can shove some in your hole. The problem is if you shove it in your hole, then you got to try to find that hole, but I usually just like to, you know, tap it down like that. I know it's going to basically be in that hole. Now I'm going to take the bolt. Now if you wanted to, you could actually just wrap the bottom of the bolt with the butyl tape. I do not recommend using silicone at all. Silicone is really hard to get off of fiberglass and takes a lot of extra care. Butyl tape is easy and it stays flexible. I like to also put butyl tape at the near the top of the bolt and wrap it around in case the butyl tape gets pushed out of our holes. Then this helps to seal it at the top. So you can see our bolts are inserted all the way into our stanchion, and we have each one of them wrapped with the butyl tape at the top. Now we don't do butyl tape everywhere because we want water to actually be able to weep out of this, because this goes all the way through, and if water gets inside we want it to come out. So now it's ready. If you have one hole that's a little bit stubborn, or one bolt, you can just take your screwdriver and screw it down. This is a teeny bit off, but as you can see, we can get her down there easily. Alright, so now we're ready to work on the bottom side. So now we're in the V-berth, and I have my stainless steel plate that we made, and I have one of the nuts. And here's where I have to fasten it. And it's a little hard to get a camera under here, but we're going to try. So the issue is that I have to have probably somebody on the outside of the boat turn these screws to get them to all go into the holes. So as you can see, I've got the back two in the holes, and then I can probably get another one in there, but we're going to have to either have to get it kind of flat to fit it around. So I'm going to send somebody outside the boat, and we are going to get all these into those holes. What I'm going to probably do is put a nut on here so I don't have to worry about losing the plate, but I'm not going to thread it on very far, because if I do, then I won't be able to get the plate straight. So that should do it there. So now we'll get somebody outside with a Phillips screwdriver to turn each one of these bolts until they go into all four of the holes of the plate. So we got the plate on, and I did have to make some of these holes a little bit bigger. If you make them too big, you can just use a stainless steel washer over top of the plate. but we're good. And now what I'll do is I'll use a socket, and we'll have somebody go outside and tighten each one of the screws until they're tight. Okay, so now we just want to tighten them up so they're nice and tight, and we had somebody on the outside hold the heads, and they're good. That looks great. Now if you had a raised portion, you could use shims, and we'll show you what I would do. I didn't need it here because this is almost flat. So that one's installed. Okay, so we have the plate in, and you can see that we had to use a few little washers because our bolts weren't perfectly straight, which is completely fine. The other two holes didn't require washers, but now we have a stainless steel backing plate, and everything is locked down nicely down here in the cabin.
Next up, preparing the new stanchion pole.
I'm going to wrap the bottom of the cable with a rag, and then I'm going to take my vice grips. Hopefully this won't damage the wire. And I'm going to go up as close to the tool, but leave a little bit of a gap because we have to pound this down. So you can see I have about a 1/4 inch gap. Okay, so now I'm going to take a socket that fits on here nicely, that doesn't roll off, and I'm going to take a hammer because you got to get this wedge out of here. And I'm going to hit this. And you see the wires getting ready to come out. I might have to put this on a more solid surface. Oh, I think it's loose already. So this may have worked. Let's see. Yes. So here is my wedge and my O-ring, and you do need to replace this with a new wedge that's available from Sailrite. It'll come with a compression washer and also this rubber washer. So we got it off. So now we can take this old stanchion off and replace it with our thick wall 1-inch stainless steel. This is my stanchion sleeve with eye, and I'm going to release the set screw in it like that, and we're going to go ahead and feed it onto our thick wall 1-inch stainless steel tubing. Okay, and then I'm going to just cinch this down a little bit. I don't want to hurt the tubing. I just don't want it to rattle around on me. And then we're going to put the eye on top, and this can be welded, or you can actually drill a hole and put one of our set screws in it, which is what we're going to do. We're going to use the number 3 drill bit and a 14/28 tap for this project. Okay, if you don't have a drill bit, I recommend that you put a punch. Use a punch and punch a hole in your stainless. We're going to put some oil on the bit, and what I've got here is I've positioned this so if I'm flat up against the tubing, which I am right there, so you can see that we're going to be basically crimping or putting our set screw down here, because I don't want it too close to the upper edge. So that should give us a good grip for this. So now we're through. So I'm going to clean the tubing off with a rag and inside. And then what we're going to do is we're going to insert this fitting in place like that. And I'm going to put it back because I want to put a little bit of a divot in that. So I'm going to lock this down, making sure this is going through the same hole, which it is. So I'm going to lock it down hard. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a little bit of a cavity into that base. So I'm not going to cut through. I want my set screw to set nicely in that. There we go. So now we're going to tap the stainless with our tap, and we did put some cutting oil on this. And you want to keep going until it starts to feel smooth, which it does right there. And now I can reverse the tap out of the hole. So you can see that we have a little divot in our cap, and we can position that. And then now we can take our set screw. It's available from Sailrite, and lock it in place. And I want to lock it fairly hard. There we go. So now our installation is complete. If you'd like, you can put another second one on this side, but that's your choice. Obviously, the more the merrier. And if you wanted to, you could make the divot in this cap deeper so that this actually came out flush. That's up to you.
In this chapter, we'll be installing the new pole and quick attach wedge.
I fed the lifeline cable into the first one, and then we have to release these set screws. I'm not going to take them out. I'm just going to release them to the point where I can slide the tubing into that. Good. It's all the way down to the base. Now we need this to be adjusted. So I'm not going to adjust this perfectly yet, but I'm going to turn this so that the top of this is going from bow to stern, and then let's see, right there. I'm going to lock that down a little bit. Nothing's locked down securely. We're just getting things ready. Put that one through. So we're going to slide the cone onto our wire. Then we're going to take our brand new jaws and slide it on so that it goes inside of this, and we want that to be close to the end of the cable. We're going to slide on our pressure washer like that, and these should be evenly spaced. If I look around, yeah, the space between each one of these three wedges is evenly spaced. Then I can slide this into here so that it covers the jaws, a little bit of cable sticking out. Then we can slide this on and start turning this until we want to hold everything in place until we get this all the way up. Make sure these are loosened all the way. Now everything's starting to turn, so I'm going to have to kind of hold everything. I'm holding the cable too with the back of my hand because we got to have that start locking onto the cable. Now it's starting to get firm. So now we're going to lock this down with 2 wrenches. Nice and hard. Let's make sure it's on there good. And that locks that wedge well. That should be good. I'm going to do it one more time. Yes! Once that's done, then we can lock this down securely. And I'm probably going to need a different size wrench. I'll just use a adjustable wrench for this. So that's the lock nut. There we go. She's installed. So now we're going to tighten our turnbuckle. May have to release the nuts until we get the wire nice and taut. And we still have not adjusted that stanchion yet, so we have to do that too. But using the Suncor system like this, you can see that we can actually remove things. They're not swedged in place permanently. And that's looking good. Cool. I'm going to release that and raise it to the approximate position of all the other ones. I'll measure it to be sure, and then I'll lock that down securely. I'm not going to lock it down securely yet. Now we're going to make sure that this is going completely starboard to port, like that. And then we're going to lock down the stanchion base. And you could use a little Loctite on these, which I would probably recommend once you have it in the right spot. I'm not going to do that, but that is something that you should probably consider. And we need these things to be super tight. You could even drill a little bit into your tubing to make a little cavity for each one of these set screws, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to actually make a little divot in the aluminum, or stainless, I'm sorry. So there's a divot now, and if I release these, then I know exactly where I can drill a cavity. I'm not going to show that, but I want to show you how easy it is to find where these would be set up. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a divot there and a divot there. So we could drill a little cavity in that and then lock them down nice and secure.
And here's a look at our stanchion and stanchion pole now that they're installed. Coming up, the materials and tools we use to get this project done. If you have any questions, be sure to give us a call or email. I'm Seth Grant, and from all of us here at Sailrite, thanks for watching.